Hey guys, Ben here. Welcome to episode 86 of my daily videos about copywriting. As requested by Reese yesterday, he asked me to elaborate a bit more on the subject of positioning, which is very much related to copywriting, because the first thing you have to understand about positioning is that it's a very relative concept. In most of our world, or maybe everywhere, you always need two things, two kind of poles, like yin and yang, ugly and pretty, 0 and 1 in programming. You always need at least two things you can compare to one another. So let's say you are trying a new dish and your brother or your spouse is asking you, how does it taste? You will usually bring up something like, oh, it tastes like chicken, or it's a new gum maybe, oh, it tastes like strawberry, or you always compare things. And that is very much the root of positioning itself, because positioning, like I described yesterday, always is relative to something else. You position your product or your brand against or next to or over or above or below something else. And today I have three examples for you. If you have been studying positioning a bit, you might have come across these examples because they're very popular when you look into positioning. So the first example is by 7-Up. 7-Up does sodas, and what they chose, because they are going against Coca-Cola, they chose to position their soda against Coca-Cola by calling them their one of their beverages the Un-Cola. So what did they do there? They positioned their product against Coca-Cola. They separated themselves, that they are a different category or a better beverage by not being the average Coca-Cola that most people know and drink. So they get all the people who don't like Coca-Cola but still are interested in sodas. So that's one example how you can position your products against something else that's existing in the minds of your audience, because everybody knows Coca-Cola. So example 2 is about car rental companies. And I don't know the year, but for the most time you had Hertz, which was the biggest company in car rentals. And then you had the number 2, which was Avis. And they never really were able to overtake Hertz. They just couldn't be the market leader. And what they decided to, as their marketing campaign, is to take advantage of their second place position in the market and not try to act as the first place, but they chose a very smart slogan, which had in itself was a positioning. And the slogan was this. They said, "We try harder. We are number 2, we try harder." And by that statement, they positioned themselves as the second place who knows they have to work harder for their customers, for their clients, and will therefore provide a better service. So they took advantage of not being the leader, which you would usually say, okay, we are the leader since 20 years, have always been the market leader. That seems like the only strength you can actually use, but they found a way to position themselves in a strong position, even though not being the leader. So that's a very smart example. They changed their slogan in 2012, I believe. They went away from that slogan, but for a long time they had that one. So, and the third example was about computers. In 1984, most people knew the IBM PC, which was a more like a gray box and kind of hard to use if you ask Apple, because Apple then came out with the Macintosh, and they positioned themselves, if you look at their presentations and their advertisements and their sales videos, they always positioned themselves against the IBM PC. They say the Macintosh was easier to use, was better designed, more user-friendly, and just overall better than the IBM PC. I remember one of their ad videos, which was very funny. They said something like, I think they had two people. Maybe I should link the video, but it was two people personifying IBM and Apple, a Macintosh. And I think the IBM person had a cough or a flu or something. And then the Apple person said, "Oh, do you have a virus?" And then, "Yeah, didn't you get the virus?" And then the Apple person just said, "No, we don't have viruses." Basically saying that the Apple PCs have no viruses at all, and most people or viruses on Windows or IBM PCs were a pretty known thing, and just having zero viruses at that time for the Apple or the OS, the Apple OS, was something they used to position themselves again against IBM and their computers. So those were three examples that are really giving a good example, or giving some good demonstration of how you can use positioning to position yourself relative to something else that your audience already knows of, that you can use to kind of hitchhike onto the thing that they already know, and put yourself into a position next to or above or below or against that thing that they already know. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed these examples. When I first heard about them, I found them really nice and really helpful to understand the concept of positioning, because I felt most times when hearing about positioning, it was a very vague concept. And definitely it's not a thing that you develop in a few minutes. It's something you have to work out, you have to know your market. And then if you brainstorm a lot and really dive into it, you will at one point have the really smart idea how you can position yourself. It is usually not something you just come up with on the spot. Yes, and it obviously highly impacts your copywriting, because you can use the positioning in every way in copywriting, in your emails, in the name of your products or your services, in your website, basically everywhere. So I've been going on for a long time now, over 7 minutes. And yeah, I hope you like this video. Let me know if you have any feedback about this episode, and leave a like if you enjoyed it. I'll see you for tomorrow's video tomorrow. Bye.